All right, this video is about progression. So I'm going to teach you how I progress your workouts and what are some other ways you could possibly progress your workouts. But I'm going to teach you what I feel is the most effective and the most engaging way to progress with workouts. So the inner workings of Mr. Erickson's brain are unveiled on this whiteboard. What I like to keep in mind with any exercise prescription, any program creation that I'm going through is I use a principle called the FIT principle. The acronym here, F-I-T-T, of course, is FIT, and what it stands for is frequency, intensity, time, and type. I'm gonna explain each of these and what they actually mean because it could be misconstrued very carefully, very easily. So frequency is gonna be the amount of times you work out or how frequently you work out. I like to chunk it down into week-long segments usually. So let's say out of 7 days, are you working out 2 times per week, or are you working out the suggested amount, which is 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 times per week? That would be a major factor in whether you see progress, whether you succeed or not. Hence the reason we're always aiming for 100% completion on workouts and are always shooting for consistency, okay? So frequency is how many times per week are you working out? That's a factor that definitely plays a huge role in your success. Intensity. Intensity is, how could I say this with, let's take a couple of different exercises and give you examples of how to manipulate intensity and what is intense and what is not. So for instance, running. Let's say you're to go for a 20-mile jog. You might think, okay, 20 miles, that's a long run. So that means that's a very intense exercise. And the answer is no. That's a long duration exercise. But the intensity of every stride, of every movement, of any segment of time of that exercise is a low intensity. Okay, the amount of effort you're producing or outputting is very low for that whole duration compared to sprinting. So sprinting for a short period of time, say 20 yards, 40 yards, 100 meters, that is a highly intense exercise. That means you're giving a maximum effort for a short period of time. So, of course, intensity can vary anywhere between those two, but also, it also applies to exercises like strength training, right? So with strength training, if you have 5-pound dumbbells, there's not too much that you can do with 5-pound dumbbells that is very intense. Let's just take a bicep curl, for instance. Let's say you're using 5-pound dumbbells on a bicep curl. You could go till the cows come home. You just keep repping those out, right? Yeah, because the intensity there is quite low. However, depending on your strength level, what if you selected a weight that was so challenging you could only do 1 rep? Maximum effort, that's all you could do. I don't suggest doing that with a bicep curl. However, for the sake of the point of this discussion, imagine if you did that. The most weight you could do for just 1 rep. That would be the most intense version of that exercise. So, other exercises get even more intense, ones that require your whole entire body, like say squats or deadlifts. Hence the reason you will always see squats and deadlifts and lunges and pushes and pulls in the exercises, because those are more complex exercises that can get much more intense and are safer to work at a higher capacity. So intensity, hopefully that one makes sense. Now, the next variable here, time. So how much time are you spending on each workout? Are you going to the gym for 30 minutes or are you going to the gym for 2 hours? That is a variable that can play a role, but is largely predicated on the intensity of the workout. So if it's a 30-minute workout, it should be pretty intense. If it's a 2-hour workout, it's probably not going to be as intense unless you're like a bodybuilder. In which case then it might be very intense. But so time, we'll want to play with that one very carefully. But also let's talk about the last one, type. So your type of exercise is, are we running? Are we sprinting? Are we doing Are we rowing? Are we swimming? Are we hiking? Are we biking? Those are all different types of exercise, but they do fall into the same category. Aerobic to anaerobic cardiovascular exercise. And then there's another kind of category, which is strength training or calisthenics or power lifting. These are going to be kind of a different category, but with that said, those are different types of exercise within, say, that other realm of exercises that you could be doing. So why do I point this out? Well, because you'll want to vary one or more of these variables over time. So I want to show you how I go ahead and how I go about doing that. And this should be familiar, but I'm going to show you this graph here. It is graphed out over time. Let's say months 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to vary intensity as we go. So what I typically do is for 1 month, we take these exercises and this workout and we build up the intensity. We condition your body to get better at doing those things. Muscles have memory. What you want to do is train in these exercises the exact same way for a window of time, say for instance a month, and your body will adapt and get better. That's what we want. We want to make your body reconditioned to be better at strength, to produce the hormones required to get better at strength. And when we do that, our body takes shape the way we want and it maintains. That's key, okay? So after we build up 1 month, what we're gonna do is scale back the intensity because we should be hitting it really hard by the time we get here. So your muscles should get very wiped out. We should be feeling a little bit more tired by that point, right? So now we scale back the intensity a little bit. So could we just do that same workout again with more challenging weights? Yeah, we could theoretically, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you do that too much over and over and over again, then you're gonna get overuse injuries or imbalances in your muscles because you'll only be working those muscles in one way every time, or the same way every time, I should say. Instead, what we should want to aim for is varying those exercises a bit to get a bit of variation in your movements, but also to get a bit of different stimulation. In other words, could we find a version of the exercise that's more challenging? In other words, it's increasing the intensity. And then we scale it back, so we're taking it nice and easy here in week 1, and then building up as we go again for the month. So you get to your maximum possible effort here, and that's time to scale it back a little bit here. Give your muscles a chance to recover again, hopefully a more challenging variation of the workouts, or maybe you're reordering the workouts and the exercises so that they're more difficult. Just simply by changing the order of the exercises, you'll find that the workouts become easier or more challenging. And by taking away rest or by adding rest and increasing weights, those things can come into play as well. But you see the drill. Over time, we're going up and up and up, but taking little breaks in there and shifting things around a little bit. And the nice thing about scaling back here, when you change the exercises or change the variation of the exercises, is that you're taking it a little easier with something that's new to your muscles so that we avoid injury. So we're getting a nice little double whammy here. Now, some people might ask, well, can I just do this? And the short answer is yes. The long answer is, well, you can, but it ends up being a little bit more monotonous, not only for your body, but also psychologically. Can get quite boring, and we're less likely to shift those other variables like the exercise selection, the variation of the exercise, the rest, and the order of the exercises. So those kind of things are very important too. We want to shift those around after each month as well. So that's why this one doesn't yield as, it doesn't quite work as smoothly for that. But the nice thing is, and the other thing is here we get a chance to take a little rest because I like to really push myself. So I go higher here. And in fact, if I were to do this really accurately, check this out. What this would really look like in reality would be this. Oops. Right, that's what it would really look like. I enjoy really pushing myself here and then giving myself a break next week going here. And I imagine most other people do too. It's more engaging that way, more fun, but also it works better when we shift those other variables as well. So I know this is a long-winded one, but one more thing real quick. Do we have to only shift intensity? And the answer is no. However, it's by far my favorite way to shift and to change a variable over time and to progress, because it's all about your progression. If you don't progress, your body doesn't progress. So I just tell you how to progress. However, let's say, what would a bodybuilder do? A bodybuilder would actually do increased time, or should I say volume. So volume is the sheer amount of work done. It would be, let's say you're totaling up all of your sets for the workout and you get in a total of 20 sets of exercises. Counting every single exercise, how many sets did you do for each one? Total ends up being 20. A bodybuilder might be at like 30 sets, 40 sets, or whatever, and increase over time. That might be a way that they would do it. Same exact graph, just a different variable. So that means they might be spending 2.5 hours in the gym, working pretty darn hard the whole time. Now, I don't suggest that for you, unless of course you're a bodybuilder, but I don't train bodybuilders, so it's likely that you're not. Anyhow, so you can see how we can manipulate that FIT principle, frequency, intensity, time, and type, and make it so that you continue to improve over time forevermore and never plateau. The only thing is some variables like frequency, you can't continue to increase. If you get to 7 days per week, you've maxed it out, right? Can you do multiple workouts per day and do 7 days per week? Well, I don't necessarily encourage that unless you're eating a ton of food. Otherwise you overtrain yourself. So it's a careful balance of shifting and turning the right knobs. The example that I just laid out here for you a moment ago, where we shift the intensity over time, taking it up and down, I think that's the way to go. It's my favorite. So hope you enjoyed that too. And hope it makes great sense to you so that you can continue to shift and change your intensity and progress with your workouts to no end.